This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, and today I'm going to talk about, do we need religion to humanize us? Religion, science, art, literature, philosophy, and all the rest that is manifestations of the human imagination, creative imagination, um, are part of the culture, the phenomena that we call culture. And culture only exists in the web of nature. It is not, as I said before in other recordings, it's not culture versus nature, it's culture in the web of nature. So culture encompasses is everything, even religion and every science and everything else. So religion is part of the culture of that defines the human race, the human species. It is culture that defines this ability to produce complex cultural systems, because we are sociocultural systems, if you will, that allows us to create religion, because religion is a human creation. It is not, and that's why it is wrong at this moment in history to believe that there are people that are intermediaries between us and God, between us and the alien beings, or between us and, doesn't make any sense that we still live that we still be trapped in this. These are intellectual traps, cultural traps that do not help us to liberate ourselves from all the shackles that are torturing us and enslaving us. By definition, we are spiritual beings. We don't need any specific explanation to justify that spirituality. We are animated beings. We have a spirit, but not in the sense, in that idea that we are special, or we have these all these the more I try to understand it, the more it seems absurd. It is because it doesn't help us to deal with the problems we have as a species, as a societies and as civilization. That is the problem that people seem to not understand. That religion and what they call spirituality and all these theories, doesn't matter. From some people say that Buddhism is not a religion, is more of a philosophy. But you have all these religions, Hinduism, all the religions that exist. The bigger or smaller, doesn't matter. They say they have a purpose for create social cohesion, but social cohesion through tribalization, through fundamentalism. All religions are fundamentalist. And why are they fundamentalist? Because they pretend to be the religion, you know. And since religion demands from us faith and blind faith, it means that anything goes, because there isn't the need to explain and to show evidence of anything. It is self-evident. And if it's self-evident, people just believe it or don't believe it. And if we have the propensity to have this, if we have the propensity, the natural propensity, the innate propensity to believe in these extraordinary phenomena, we surely buy into it. And there would be no problem at all if it wouldn't have consequences in our lives, in our relations, in the way we relate to each other, and of course we relate to nature, because it gives us perspectives and perceptions about life, about human beings, about nature, about other living beings, about the universe, about creation, about everything, because it is supposed to be the explanation. It is supposed to be the right explanation that we must believe if we are true believers. The same goes for science as well. If when people become devotees of scientism or techno-scientism, if we understand religion, by the way, I'm not against religion. There are many people, religious people, that I listen to. The problem is that many people seem to not understand or not accept religion as just a cultural phenomena, not anything special, aside, apart. Not something that provides the reason for certain people, like supposedly the Jewish people, to be the chosen ones, because God says so. But it doesn't matter whoever it is. What matters is that religion, not only religion, I know it, I'm perfectly aware of it, but religion is is most of the time basic, is dogmatic, and uses the dogma, the power of dogma, to put itself away, out of criticism, above criticism. And because it's based in the scriptures, whatever that means, or can be based in any other. If you can create any system or narrative that is shield against criticism, that is that is self-evident, of course, you demand that demands submission. And submission is it's not a culture for liberation. It's not a culture for spirituality. Submission is submission. It's about controlling our will. It's about having power over us through whatever means. Truth, trust, and justice are relational. They are not absolute, as any other. It has to be room for. They have to be open to criticism, to a wider understanding, to facts and evidence. Even people that think, okay, but if we always have to, everything needs to be, then there is to be evidence for everything, then there are many things that might never be evident. They are just self-explained, again, self-evident. They don't need to have facts supporting it. This brings us to dangerous delusions, dangerous forms of, and that delusion transforms us into useful idiots, literally, because then there are many facts proving it, that many people and organizations, not only the organized religions, the major religions, but many people that claim to have superpowers or to be intermediaries of God or whatever they are, they claim they just some of them are successful because they might build powerful narratives, and so many people just start to follow them and to become slaves, literally slaves, because when you are when there is no need to prove anything, I mean, it is impossible. It's just dangerous. The question to me is that can we build a global civilization? We already have a global civilization, but we have a global civilization of commerce, trade, exploitation, financial, economic, not political, but so there is this, and the culture, the main culture of the world, is an imperialistic culture. It was the American culture that was that were able to colonize the rest of the world. So we have a culture of based on commodification and consumerism, shallowness, and self-interest and self-aggrandizement, and all what is negative, all what divides us, at once transforms us, makes us look alike, because we basically, as consumers, we look alike to a certain extent, or we share traits as that are part of this global culture. But we have the divisions: political, ideological, cultural, which all of them are cultural. That's one of the points. That's the point of my conversation today. It is to try to make clear that culture, every phenomena that we have, we are social beings. We make sense of reality and of ourselves through culture. And since we are social beings, politics is part of a social being, which is politics is the management of power distribution, how we decide how our societies and economies are organized, what are the principles, what are the functions, what are the objectives of the economy. And basically, any economy should have the purpose, so the political economy should have the purpose to satisfy the needs of society within, as in the case of our societies, modern societies and civilization, within ecological boundaries. Because this dimension is new, and we need to include it. So we need to have a political economy, a social and ecological political economy. But all these, all these parts are culture. Everything is culture, or everything is only possible because of the feature of our future to produce, to have creative imagination and the ability to use symbolic language. Okay, to have these systems, these artificial systems that don't exist in nature, that are produced by our imagination, the power of our creative imagination, and therefore they allow us to create these complex organizations and to have the communication, the ability to communicate to each other and create all these values and principles and ideas and all the rest that is part of what we call culture. That is culture. So this is my main point. As I said, we have a global culture as a consumerist, commodified culture, because everything is commodified. We live in a capitalist system. It's the default system that we have in the globe. That's what we have, this defines the way we behave, the way we understand reality is defined by this reality. And this was spread by the powerful cultural and media machine, the propaganda machine of the United States of America, of the American imperialism. This is colonialism by other means, which means that instead of conquering the countries, we control them through economic, financial, and cultural means. So that's the economic, financial, and cultural colonization, and that has been very successful because the Americans understood it very well. The American elites, they understood the power of propaganda. They understood that they could use Hollywood, so they could use movies, they could use advertisement, they could use to spread the idea of the American dream, of the idea of a country where everybody can become a billionaire or a millionaire at the time. Now it has to be a billionaire. So that's as if the only country in the world where class didn't exist. So because literally everybody could become a millionaire, and to a certain extent, as the possibility was there. But of course, mathematically is impossible, but it doesn't matter. So everybody around the world, about the American dream, this huge country with people driving huge cars, with all with everything that we know about the American culture and the American values and democracy and freedoms and this and that. So that was the consumerism, the idea of that the identity is about what we have, define who we are. Which is the predominant. It was already. This was not invented by the Americans, okay? But it became the dream for everyone, the default dream. So, capitalism is the global religion. So capitalism is the global culture, and the imperialistic civilization is the global the imperialistic civilization paradigm is by default what all countries follow, because there is the default paradigm. That's what it is. So there is no country maybe there are exceptions, small countries, but all the countries, big countries and more influential countries, all of them share this feature, this default paradigm, the imperialistic civilizational paradigm, and the capitalistic system. The capitalist religion is the culture, the global culture. So we do not have, we have this system that is at the same time an economic system, a political system, and a cultural system, which is the most important. It's not the most important, but is the part that counts to keep us trapped mentally, to keep our imagination, to keep the power of our critical analysis trapped. that makes us able to believe anything and everything, but like someone said, which I don't remember right now, that is easier. It is easier, and this is a fact. No, it is easier for most people to believe in the end of the world than in the end of capitalism. It is crazy, but this is true, and this is a problem. This just is the recognition that of the limits of our ability when we are trapped in certain cognitive biases, and with the frames that there are frames and patterns that we identify, through which lenses through which we identify the reality. We are not able to unite and humanize humanity, because we don't have a culture to humanize. We don't have a culture for cooperation. We don't have an economy that should be the default economy, a sufficiency and a reciprocity economy. It's not circular, it's not this, it's not that. It has to be a sufficiency economy, sufficiency and reciprocity, and the precautionary principle. Of course, it has to be social and ecological. The political economy, it has to be social and ecological. But we cannot discuss these things because we all are indoctrinated and instrumentalized to function within the boundaries of the capitalist economy, and to follow the set of beliefs and values and principles that are the pillars of that system, which is, as I said, the global system, the global religion that controls our lives. Because it is a religion, because it is so powerful that we are supposed to believe in Tina. There is no alternative to this religion, to this system, to this culture. So this is how powerful it is, and the religions, all the religions that exist, do they help us and all major religions do not help us. They are not helping us to unite and to humanize. It doesn't matter what kind of moral points, what kind of narratives, and because they are systems. The ones that are the organized religions are systems of power. They are political. They have economic interests. They are part of the larger system that controls of class or caste system, and they exist to protect the interests of the elites. Of course, there are dissidents. There is the movements of liberation. There are many priests and other religious people, that they understand the mechanisms of power and class struggle and exploitation. And they do see religion as a mechanism for liberation, for social liberation, for economic liberation, for political liberation. Because they understand that religion is cannot be separated from the rest of culture. They cannot be separated from the economy. If religion wants to have a role, wants to have a real role, to transform the conscious, to develop the need for a conscious transformative process that makes us more aware of our common that we need to unite, that only if we have a culture, only if we have a political system, an economic system, and a cultural and a societal system that together functions to humanize us, that's the only way that humanity really becomes more spiritual, that develops the spirituality. And this is why if people do not want to see that the purpose of religion is not to separate us, is not to create these divisions between matter and spirit, and to divide us and superior and inferior, and to divide us between the God and whatever kind of divisions. Is to unite. And it's about understanding, it's about grasping reality and grasping the condition, the human condition, the nature of human condition as holistic. That our cultures and our languages and our religions are born locally, because we can be separated geographically, okay? Because they are born they were born in smaller groups, so therefore this division is natural, in the sense that is created by the normal development of cultural development, socio-cultural development, that forms these identities separated, and these language systems and these narratives. But now, at what we arrived in the history, the current state of the human civilization requires a global culture. I'm not talking about globalism, I'm not talking about global governments, and people need to also be a little bit, this is so much propaganda and misinformation about all these concepts. What we need to understand is the reality. And we do need a culture, a holistic culture, that we all see each other as equals. Because differences, it's impossible. Differences are everywhere. Human beings are different from each other, and we just are different from ourselves over time. We are not the same we over during our lives we change a lot. We change our worldviews. There is many things that happen with us during our lives. So this division difference is impossible. It's natural. Division is natural, but is usually the differences are used by the powers, by the people that want to have control and power, by the people, institutions and organizations that want to control us. They pray, but we all know that. Of course, divide to reign. Most people know this is really true. But do we understand it? Do we apply it? Does the culture we have, does the global religion called capitalism, it is a religion, okay, it is an economic system, a financial and political system, but it is also a religion, and it is global. It is the only global religion. Do we understand it as a religion? Are we able to understand that we are manipulated by this system and humanized by it? And this idea of the pursuit of self-interest and accumulation of wealth and consumerism and becoming addicted to luxury items and all these big, only we think about how nice it would be to have this big mansion and private jets and yachts and have all this luxury that the super rich enjoy. This is the culture we want. Do you believe that this is what is that it can be available? That it could be the rule, not the exception? Of course not. We know that it is an impossibility. But nevertheless, we are dominated. Nevertheless, our imagination, our minds are colonized and dominated by this religious, by this dogma. Okay? Or at least part of it. Even for those of us that understand it, understand how it functions, it doesn't mean that we are not kept into the loop. Because it is the default system where we need to operate. Where, if we want to survive and thrive, for some of us at least, we need to adapt, we need to comply, we need to conform, we need to give up many things. We need to give up ourselves. So this, we compromise a lot. So, and then we just have this alternative, because it is an alternative, because it's not the main religion. The main religion and the main culture is capitalism. And then we have the alternative, because now it's for most people, they are alternative, People are not as religious as before, but they still have their religion. And religion still has the power to influence many people. I'm talking about organized religions. And there are also cults lots of cults that also play a huge role in manipulating people's perception and people's will and people's minds. And they are not liberating people, or for the most part they do not liberate people, and they do not make people more spiritual. Because spirituality is that the spiritual development is at the same time, and it has to be an individual process, it has to be a transformation, but it has to be done by us, by each one of us, as part of a conscious transformative process that is under our control. It doesn't mean that it's not based in shared knowledge and shared experience, but not under the command. Because the moment we believe that others, for whatever reason, because they represent authority, they are smarter than us, whatever they are, they are intermediaries between us and God, and what blah blah blah. We allow them to have control over us, to govern, to dictate what's good, what's bad. How can we achieve this? How can we achieve that? No. True spiritual development has to be intellectual and cultural. It has to be part of a process of a self-introspective process. It has to be holistic in the sense that it is an individual process controlled by us, but it's also social and of course cultural. And there is the need to have an economic and political system that supports it, which is the opposite of the capitalist system. That is used to atomize us and tribalize us, to divide us, to separate us to the point of atomization, that we become insignificant atoms, separated, isolated, or through the tribalization, through the idolization of people, personalities, celebrities, these religious people that pretend to be our saviors, that pretend to help us discovering God or discovering ourselves or clean our souls, while wiping out our wallets, or just by making us comply with the existing system, the very system that makes us sick, spiritually sick, mentally sick, because it is dysfunctional, it is socially dysfunctional, because it's a system that dehumanizes us. And if religion doesn't help to humanize us, and to humanize, but is the opposite, because it doesn't stand against the oppressive systems, coercive systems that just want to use us, that just want to use the majority of us as useful idiots, cannon fodder, or disposable peons. What's the value of our life? What is it the pursuit of self-interest? What kind of self-interest? if most of us are just fighting for survival, loaded with debt, loaded with problems, with shrinking wages and living standards, especially in the West. And then there are another category of saviors, another category, political category of another religion. That's why I call it right wokeism, which creates this anti-crisis. There is the immigrants, where they represent. There is this. It is so. Everything is so sick, so dehumanizing, so divisive, that it is very difficult for people that want to do something in the positive side, which means that we can not only criticize, we need to have discussions about solutions, alternatives, which means that we need to understand exactly what's the nature of the human condition, what kind of societal, political and economic system could serve the common good within the ecological boundaries. I'm not talking about any form of fundamentalism. I'm not talking against science or against technology or against religion. It's meaningless to be against, to be just against, against this, against that. No, we need to understand. Because in order to be against, first we do need to understand why. Why are we against it? But not, but again, we cannot do it. We need to use evidence. I know it's difficult, yeah. It is difficult, of course, because it's not. It's not just. There is the need to study. There is the need to build a because it is a process, and I always like to emphasize this word, this concept of process. There is this. That's where we need to our will. Instead of receiving commands from others, we have to have our will, to train our will to have this conscious transformative process led by us, not by others. But again, always in a relation to others, always in the intersection, in the symbiotic process with the knowledge and experience of others. Not just because we know better or for some reason it's self-evident for us, so then we become dogmatic, then we become fundamentalists. And many people are fundamentalists without knowing it, because they don't think about it. They don't think that they don't have any evidence to support or facts to support their claims, but for some reason they are supposed to be taken as the truth. Which is an absurdity. And that's why Voltaire was right. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. This is, if history tells us anything of value, this is one of it. That perception manipulation, just that's the control of us by others, because we just are made absurdities like racistic, like the superiority of the white race, or the superiority or gender superiority, to use difference to build difference and diversity, to divide, to control. So power concedes nothing without a demand. Frederick Douglass. This is how reality works. So this is a principle that it's an idea that we need to really understand, need to apply it. That this is why the dominant culture, which is the capitalistic culture, as I said, we need to understand it as a culture, as an economic system, a political system, a social system, that as a culture that dominates, that is the dominant culture all over the world, the worldwide dominant culture. Okay? And all the mechanisms, which is the competition, the pursuit of self-interest, the pursuit of profit, of course, the privatization, the primacy of private property over everything else. All these values, the consumerism, mindless consumerism, a very superficial and fragmented culture, fragmented ways to understand reality, which is very, very important. Very low attention span, very short attention span. The commodification of everything, even our relations. So this is the dominant culture, okay? Superficiality, division, all this, and we need what I call about the conscious transformative process. It's the way, it's the process by which we put this reality into, we challenge, we question it, and we should not do it alone. We have to do. There is as I said, it is part. It is the part of the process. It has to be alone. It has to be a self. It has to be trained by us. As the same rule goes for physical activity. You cannot tell other person to do your physical activity, your gymnastics, your whatever you do to keep for your health, or running, or going to the gym, or whatever you like to do. It has to be done by yourself. The same goes for intellectual development, for to deal with our biases, to challenge our biases, our cognitive biases. Okay, which means they always this is the dominant narratives, which by default are the ones that exist, that are ubiquitous, that exist everywhere we go in our work, where we work, where we shop, where we live, in our streets, everywhere. In the media we consume, it's everywhere because it's the dominant culture, so therefore is ubiquitous. So it is normal that is the culture that by default is dominates our minds. So there is the need for this process of decolonizing our minds. So to put the values, ideas and principles and narratives into perspective, to challenge them, to ask cui bono with the existing order. And then we start this process, and then we should look for knowledge and experience, and all that other people know knowledge and experience to share, to illuminate us. And then we should have we should be together with other people physically, not only through the internet, in order to create bonds. Because then we see that we can really reinforce, that we can become stronger and develop faster if we join our, if we unite, if we come together. Because we are social beings, and that social bond and emotional bonds, as well as ideological, cultural and moral bonds, just make us stronger. So this needs to be all together, because it is our existence is to individualize in it is this social media participation is, I mean, it I don't want to bash it. It's important to share, but I don't know, it might be also interesting to help people in many different ways, but we need to build strong movements and to be organized in a physical way for social change and political change and economic change. We need that, otherwise we cannot achieve that, because we need critical mass, and so it needs to be an individual process of liberation, as well as the social movement of to social, political movement and cultural to build power, because without power we cannot fight power with powerlessness. Okay? Learned helplessness doesn't help us to fight power. And the only way we have, because we don't have any other tool, we don't have the money, we don't have the resources, we don't have the institutions on our side, so we don't have the religion on our side. What we have is the power to organize and unite, and that's the only tool that we can use to build a humanized society, where the economy the political economy, the political system, the cultural system, and the societal system all together are working in tandem for the collective well-being of people and nature. This is my vision for a true ecological civilization. So, it is not religion that is going to save us. It is a true liberating culture. Liberation, it has to be provided by culture. And as I tried to make clear as possible as I could, culture is everything, which means that when you think about it's also ideological, of course. When you think about politics, when you think about the economy, society, arts, literature, science, doesn't matter. That is culture. So we need to have a culture that is designed to liberate us, to humanize us. It's not about private and individual freedoms, which are important. I want to enjoy my private freedoms, my individual freedoms, but I can only enjoy them if the systems where I have to survive and thrive, that I need to provide to myself, which is the economic system, political, and everything else, are designed and function in a way that humanize me and humanize my relations, which means that it has a transformative process in me that liberates me, but not through at the cost of others. Okay? That's why the capitalist system cannot provide it, because the capitalist system is based on the pursuit of self-interest and accumulation of wealth and private property at the cost of others. Because it is expansionist. It doesn't recognize limits. There is no freedoms do not exist. The freedoms can only exist with boundaries and limits. And for the people that believe in the capitalist system, for whatever reason, when they talk about freedoms, is the freedoms to exploit, is the freedoms to build private wealth and put private property above anything else. It's not the freedom to fight for justice, to build trust, and for truth, because these people actually they don't really care about truth. They care about the system that serves themselves. So it is a selfish, egotistic, greedy system that produces and that serves the people that already have these traits. Okay, because they are the ones that use all opportunities to grow their wealth. It doesn't matter at what cost that doesn't matter at all. But it also put every one of us in the same path. Because if we need to survive, if you want to survive, and if you want to have a career, or if you want to have success in your profession or a business or whatever, you need to behave like that. You need to adopt that kind of behavior, because those are the standards. Those are the pillars for success. So therefore we have an economic system, a political system, and a culture that all together create, dehumanize us, because it functions. It is required. If we want the system to be functional, if you want this functional system to be functional, you need this coercion, this coercive process that makes us operate survive through cognitive dissonance. You know? That we have the values and principles and morals in one side, and then we have the economic and political reality and social reality in the other side. And we try to conciliate these things through cognitive dissonance, to conciliate these two realities. Because we know the values and principles are important, but we cannot apply them to the reality, to the economic, social and political reality, because then we'll be losers. Then we'll be in the losing side. Therefore, what can we do? No, we cannot organize, Tina. There is no alternative. So it's not there is no point that we could organize and unite and talk about it and go through a process of conscious transformation to think about what could we do to build a different society and a different culture. No, we just cave. We just adapt. We just become a cog in the machine for a reward, okay? Which means that then we try to build meaning through whatever, there is, or we just become alienated. Because you see that your life doesn't have any meaning. What we do is meaningless. Just has to perform tasks and accept roles and functions that are meaningless. And some of them you are producing things that are absolutely unnecessary, or are providing services that should not even exist, or just are doing a useless thing that could be there. And that there could be a different society and a different system, but you do nothing in order to improve your knowledge and share and create bonds with other people that truly want real change, not the fake change that the mainstream politicians always promise us, that they will never deliver it, because they do not have any intention to challenge the existing system and the existing interests. So this is why we are where we are, and most of us still not even think to challenge even ourselves, even the set of values and belief systems through that govern our lives. But we should. So I'm going to end it here. This is, of course, not. I will later on talk more about these topics because I think they are important. Thanks for listening. I'll be back soon.